Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Mel. I grew up playing outside.
And I grew up doing something meaningful, watching movies and TV.
I never had cable, and we finally bought a VCR about the same time DVD players hit the market.
Throughout our marriage, Mel has sadly missed many of my pop culture references and movie quotes.
So it's time to catch up on all the films I missed. Hello. I beat you to it.
You know, I've been waiting for the time where we would start one of these and we both would start at the same time. And it's taken 73. So I feel like we've reached an inner peace or a different inner level.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost like there's this space inside of us that needs to be filled, and we finally filled it.
Yay.
Yay.
High five.
High five.
I did the sound effect and we
did it. You did. Wow. I guess we need to keep working. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm really excited for whatever movie we're watching.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you know what we're watching?
Have no idea.
No?
Nope.
I kind of gave you some hints with what I just said, actually. Believe it or not.
Oh. Filling an empty space inside you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Well, what could this be?
Yeah.
I'm sensing a drama or a sci-fi.
Okay. Well, sci-fis are dramatic a lot of times.
Indeed. The best ones are.
The best ones are. That's true. They kind of cover the whole gamut.
Any other clues you'd like to give me?
Oh my goodness. This isn't a clue. This is just, I'm really excited about this one.
Oh.
Yeah. I still feel bad about Howard the Duck. So I was like, I got to bring out some really great A-game movies here. So if this movie doesn't age well, then I don't know what I'm going to do emotionally. That's just the me thing, though. You don't have to worry about that right now.
Okay.
Clues, though. Let me see. There's a hero inside all of us.
The Bodyguard.
I don't even know what to do with
Flashdance.
That's a decent guess. It's not right, though.
I need a hero.
That's not Flashdance.
No?
No.
Oh. It's a dance movie, right?
Sorry. Now you got me thinking about that song and which 80s movie that's from. I'm pretty sure it's, oh my goodness, I don't remember. Short Circuit? Is it in Short Circuit when they're driving? I think it's in Short Circuit. Now I'm going to have to check. Anyway. No, none of those are correct.
Okay.
I'm going to give it to you. Ready?
Yeah, ready.
I literally said the words. It's called Innerspace.
Innerspace.
Do you know anything about this movie?
No.
Oh, that's the best. I am so envious of you right now.
You know how space is a vacuum?
Okay.
That's my knowledge of this movie. It is a vacuum. There is nothing inside the chamber of my mind.
The Chamber of Secrets
that would know anything about this movie.
Okay.
It's just echoing.
Wow.
Innerspace is just echoing on the walls.
Your knowledge of this movie falls short for sure.
Is that another clue? Why are you still giving me clues?
I like to see if I can jog your memory, you know. I'm kind of like Dennis the Menace that way. I poke at things, you know.
Wait, jog, Dennis the Menace? Are these all clues? This is like a Rubik's Cube of clues.
Anyway.
I was never good at Rubik's Cube.
That's okay. I'm just thinking about the intensity of Jack Ryan that popped in my head. I don't know why. Anyway, keep going. My brain's all over the place today. So, you literally don't know anything about this movie.
I have no idea.
None of the actors, none of the plot, nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. I'm really excited. Okay, what are you excited about? What are you dreading?
Okay, it has the word space in it, which I love.
Okay.
Space. So
yeah.
I'm hoping it's a sci-fi movie.
Okay.
I'm dreading that it's not. But I don't have a lot to dread because you're bringing your A game.
That's true. I gave it away a bit. You're right. Mm-hmm.
I'm just going into confident relax mode and I'm going to just enjoy this movie.
Okay. Well, what if there was dread? What would be the worst case scenario for you for this movie? What?
You know how there's one thing that always takes me out of a sci-fi movie.
Okay.
And it's when like they're walking or crawling or like moving from point A to point B, and their footsteps sound like they're walking on like fake metal. Or like
What? Wait a minute. So like
I hate that.
In like any movie, like T2 has that, where they're walking on like grates. Oh wait, fake metal or just metal?
Where
this, I had no idea about this value. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. We had a sci-fi movie not long ago, and this was a factor in the movie, and I forgot to bring it up.
Okay. Wasn't Howard the Duck, was it?
It wasn't Howard the Duck.
Okay.
But okay, so like, you know, when you're going through like a duct system?
You're mentioning ducks. Okay, but keep going.
A duct. I was careful to say, enunciate that.
Yeah.
And like the metal goes, it kind of gives a little.
Yeah, that womp, womp.
Yeah. So sometimes characters in a sci-fi set are walking on something that's supposed to look like out of this world, but you get that sound.
You get the womp.
And you're like, they're just walking on.
Yeah.
Like, this is not, this takes me out of it.
I get that way when they fire 13 times with a 12 bullet clip. I get that way too.
Okay. So anyway, that's what I'm dreading.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I don't know if there's any of that. It's been a while since I've seen this. I probably haven't seen this since the 80s or 90s.
Who's in this movie?
It's been a long time. I'm not telling you.
Who's the director? Who's the producer?
I'm not telling you.
Who does the soundtrack?
Yeah, that I actually genuinely don't know.
Okay.
But I really can't wait to see your reaction to names flying across the screen on this one.
Okay.
Give me a movie poster and a tagline, and we can go check it out. Yeah, this is going to be my favorite. Yeah, it's Innerspace, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go in a different direction, I'm going to say it's like a silhouette of a man.
Okay.
And the whole idea is like, it's like you're in your mind.
Okay.
And so where the brain is, it kind of is like space looking.
Oh, like a galaxy swirl or something?
Yeah,
or just
something
stars?
like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And the tagline is something like Lost in a World.
Lost in a World. All right. You really like silhouettes lately for these movie posters. Although, in your defense, there's a lot of 80s movies with like silhouettes in them.
Right.
Yeah. All right. What? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's check it out.
Test pilot Tuck Pendleton wants to make history. Supermarket clerk Jack Putter needs a vacation.
Jack, you're late. That's not good. You know it's coupon day.
Lieutenant Pendleton is about to be miniaturized, placed into this needle, and then injected into this rabbit.
Rock and roll.
But something went wrong, and Tuck's about to get a new destination. Inside Jack Putter.
I'm not a man.
Hello, can you hear me?
I'm possessed!
Now, Jack's got twice the problems.
How you doing, Jack?
But he's double the man. With Tuck on his side.
Kicking more accounts.
In his gut. And on his case.
You're not gonna bag groceries all your life, are you, Jack?
And only 24 hours left for Jack to get out of danger. So that Tuck can get out of Jack. Dennis Quaid, Martin Short. Give yourself a shot of adventure. Innerspace.
Wow, well, I feel small.
It was in a body.
Space
in a body. Was in a body. You're inner space, not outer space.
Inner space, like an inner tube. I don't know. Yeah.
Or that.
What did you think?
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is one of those movies that, as I said, I was very excited to show you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super excited too, because I was excited to show you Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze, and I was let down emotionally.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know. It was a hard time.
This
Still reeling from that.
This movie, there's a couple parts that are a little whatevs, but all in all, it held up wonderfully.
Yeah.
Like, it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
I was still giggling at certain parts, and it's Steven Spielberg and Kathleen Kennedy, so it's pretty hard for them to make a bad movie.
It is. And this is not a bad movie. This was fun.
No, it's a great movie.
I was entertained. I was on the edge of my seat. What's going to happen? I didn't know what was coming.
I really enjoyed watching you trying to figure out what they were doing.
Yes.
Because you had no idea that he was going to be shrunk down.
Yeah.
And anyway, let's get to a quick summary before we go too much further.
Okay. Well, Tuck, played by Dennis Quaid. He's a down and out, kind of down on his luck.
Down and out
air
test pilot.
Jet fighter test pilot.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of like the macho guy, and it opens with him just being really drunk and making an embarrassing speech at a party.
Correct.
And
it's the everyman. And his what? Sorry.
Oh, and then Meg Ryan saves him, brings him home from that, and you just realize they have a kind of relationship that she wants to end, but
true.
There's some lingering feelings there.
There sure are, yeah.
As evidenced as her leaving in a taxi that next morning, and he's kind of chasing after her.
Yes.
He's really unhinged.
Yeah.
And he's in the street of San Francisco, in a towel, and then his towel gets caught in the taxi car door, and she drives away, and he's left there, totally buff,
tuck naked,
and it just gives you an idea of his personality. He's just a little unhinged.
Yeah, and Dick Miller, by the way, cameo in that, who you may recognize him from Gremlins. He's Mr. Penderson, I think. He's really obsessed with the tractor.
Yeah.
He is in so many movies, it's crazy. So people like to just pepper him into movies. So anyway.
Well, he was in Gremlins.
Yep.
The director of this, Dante.
You remember Joe Dante.
Joe Dante, I remember.
I was literally like, who's Joe Dante? And you're like, that's the director of Gremlins. And I almost fainted. I was shocked.
At first you thought I was guessing, but I was
think
no,
you were guessing.
My brain made that connection.
Your brain, you have a beautiful mind.
Thank you.
I don't know what else to tell you. So,
okay, so anyway.
Tuck naked, where are we at?
So he's a part of this thing. There's something happening. You don't really know. And he is a project. Okay. And you see that he has a scientific mind because in his apartment or his house, he has this robotic arm that tries to pour whiskey, which can there be a Steven Spielberg movie without a robot arm, except for the Indiana Jones thing. Every other one I think has something cool and robotic.
Pretty sure he uses wooden pivots, non-robot technology in those instances, but keep going. Yeah.
Okay. So he's a part of this project and the project is rolling out. They're doing it. It's happening. He gets into this capsule and you're like, what's happening? You have no idea.
Yes.
And there's no clue
at
all, except he has a bunny. There's things with bunnies. And
what were you thinking was going to happen?
I thought it was going to be something like switching the brain.
Oh, okay.
I thought maybe he would be in the bunny. I didn't know what they were trying to do, but I thought that the mishap
was going to be
that he was in the bunny and
You mean his brain was in the bunny?
Yeah.
Like Disney movie style?
Yes.
Where he's trapped in a bunny?
Yes.
That would have been a very different movie.
Yes. I'm really glad they didn't go down that road.
Me too.
I love the way they went.
Yeah.
Or the road they went down.
Yeah.
So what's actually happening is he's getting shrunk down into this tiny microscopic size.
Yeah.
And they were planning to put him into the body of the bunny. But things go wrong. Some bad guys come in, actually a bad woman.
Yeah.
The most stylish, high heel bad woman you can imagine.
80s villain right there.
I know. Yeah. She would do well in a Superman movie too.
Oh, she may have been in a Superman movie now that I think about it.
So she comes in, takes the project, and this chase ensues. And the scientist who it's his baby, this project, he gets the syringe and he runs. And the only thing he can think of as he's being chased and pursued is when he runs into this guy just before the bad guys get him. He injects Dennis Quaid into this unsuspecting man.
At the mall.
Yes. Yeah. And he doesn't even really know what happens to him.
This is why malls aren't a good idea. All right? Nothing good ever happens in a mall.
Really? Because I like malls.
You never know when someone's going to shove a nanotechnology test pilot into your buttocks.
That never happened to me at Fashion Valley. Give me Fashion Valley any day. I've never got injected.
Fashion Valley used to flood, so it wasn't perfect. But Anyway.
Okay, so anyway, this human unsuspecting guy that Dennis Quaid was just injected into, he's actually like this hypochondriac
Yes.
grocery store clerk.
Yeah.
Named Martin Short.
He's an assistant manager, but they don't treat him like an assistant manager.
Yeah, played by Martin Short.
Yeah, Jack Putter.
Yeah. And he goes to his doctor all the time. His doctor says he's like the cornerstone of his practice because he goes to him all the time.
Yeah.
And he was trying to like take a vacation, chill out, and get better.
And he needs to de-stress. But really, the opposite thing happens. #plotline.
So Dennis Quaid, while he's inside, he's in this capsule, and it's kind of like a submersible.
Yeah.
And he can move around, and he has lights, and he has pudding. He can eat. He has limited oxygen.
I love how he brought a suitcase with him, like those classic like classified metal suitcases, you know.
Yeah.
And in it, he had like an empty flask. Like and they discover like he's only going to be shrunk. Like that's part of the problem. It's like 48 hours, and then it just automatically resizes or something. And so it's like, what was he thinking? Where he was like, "There's going to be an emergency. I'll put an empty flask into my suitcase." Like, what was going on in his brain? I really have no idea.
So the empty flask plays a part, but I just thought he had already drained it.
Oh, well, that's a great point. That would make more sense.
Because
he was stressed
liked to
out.
drink.
He did. He was an alcoholic. I'm not afraid to say it. He was totally an alcoholic. He like talks about how he's so drunk he can't even walk in the most romantic scene in the movie. He's like, "Oh, I remember our first date. I was so drunk I fell down a manhole." Like, he's totally an alcoholic. Anyway,
so the movie goes on. They have to get him out of Martin Short. Then like the girlfriend gets involved. Like
she's a journalist, right?
Yeah, she's a journalist. So she gets involved, and so Martin's kind of falling for her. So there's kind of like this love triangle happening.
Yes. What kind of triangle is that? I'm thinking of like geometry, because he's really small and they're really big. I don't remember. Anyway. Yeah.
I'm picturing like a geode shape.
A geode shape? Okay.
I don't know. So then, because there's like something on the inside. Right?
Ooh,
yeah. Okay.
So it's a straight line. It's just a line. And then on the inside. Oh, okay. Got it.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, moving on, finishing the summary.
Yes.
They figure out how to get him out, and they have to have like these 2 chips, and they get both of them, and they're able to do it.
Yeah, like computer chips, not like salsa and chips and salsa, just to be clear.
Yes, thank you.
That'd be very confusing as well. We'd be back to the bunny plot if there were actual chips that you ate in a bunny, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and in all of this, there was like a bad guy, like the cowboy who was going to buy the technology from the other bad guys.
Robert Picardo, yeah.
And that's who like Meg Ryan was investigating.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to explain, but a good plot is.
Yeah, there's lots of things sprinkled in along the way.
Yeah. Lots
of little dips and dashes, as they say.
It's not linear. It's a good movie. I enjoy it.
It's true. It's inner space, not linear space. What were your favorite parts? Like, what parts resonated with you most?
Well, anytime they showed Dennis Quaid going through the body.
Oh, yeah.
All of those scenes were amazing and still hold up beautifully.
They sure do.
The blood vessels going by and like arteries and veins and all of that stuff was really cool. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah. When we were watching it, we'd watched recently Attack of the Clones, Star Wars Episode 2, and the CGI does not hold up very well in that movie. It's just aging quickly. Mm-hmm. And then watching Innerspace, I was like, this is like, 40 years old, and it looks amazing still.
Yeah.
They won the Oscar for this visual effects, best Oscar, best visual effects for a picture.
Well deserved.
Yeah. Do you know what they used to make the red blood cells when they were floating inside the body?
No.
You want to guess?
I'm going to guess like something like a balloon.
A balloon? Okay.
Okay. Am I close?
Jello.
No way. That's fantastic.
Isn't that wild?
You could have a whole dessert party themed with this movie.
I know.
You could serve Jello blood vessels.
You could.
Planning it now. Okay.
I know. I'm excited about getting a submersible in our house personally for this party.
That's really cool and inventive. See, that's why, because it was a practical effect,
totally,
right?
Totally, yep.
So that's why it still one of the reasons why it still looks so good.
Yeah. What else did you like? If anything, I have a couple things that resonated with me.
There's some really sweet scenes where Martin Short is kind of trying to overcome his own fears and anxieties. And there's one scene where, and he, for some reason, I think he thinks that because Dennis Quaid has like patched into his ear and can talk to him and can hear and see. Yeah. So for some reason, I think he thinks he's getting energy and power from Dennis Quaid being in him, but he's not.
Well, I mean, he does a couple things that do that. He uses an EMP, which like breaks stuff in the real world. And then other times he like amps up his adrenal gland to like give him energy.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a scene where he's like, Martin Short's like fighting this bad guy on the stairs and it's all only him. Yeah. And it's like the story of like the magic slippers where this girl couldn't do ballet. And so someone said, here are these magic slippers will give you ballet powers. And then she dances really well, but there was never any magic. Right. It was just her. And so that's what happens here. Like he was doing that on his own. There's some really cool moments with him like coming to be more himself and like get over his fears. Yeah. And I like those a lot.
Yeah. That was cool.
What about you? What were some favorite scenes? And were they the same as when you watched before?
The weirdest part like that sticks in my brain, because I probably saw this when I was a kid, it's Steven Spielberg movie. So they were like, Spielberg, let the kids watch it. The weirdest one was the microchips. The microchips are just like etched in my brain the way they look, because they're very key to the plot. Yeah. And they're they have the most convoluted way, and they joke about it in the movie, of like getting it into the machines. They have this really slow robot arm that's later used as like cufflinks and stuff, or hidden in different like outfits. So I just really have vivid memories of loving the microchips. Just a weird one. But I love when they shrink down the bad guys. Like, as a kid, oh my goodness, as a kid, that was like dream come true. Like, you always pretend you're a giant or you're tiny when you're little. And so seeing the scene, like all of them get, what was it, like 25% of their height or something like that? Yes. So instead of 5 feet tall, they're like 2 or something, or whatever it is.
They ended up being a little smaller than an Oompa Loompa.
Yes. So that scene, and I think you said that was like kind of some of the more schlocky for you, but I thought that held up really well. There were a couple parts where you could clearly tell there's some puppetry going on, but in general, though, it's just hilarious. It was totally like weird and funky.
Yes, I loved the weirdness.
Because, I mean, really think about it. If you're those bad guys, you're going to be stuck at 1.5 feet the rest of your life unless you go like all the way, all in to try and get the chips back. So, like, what do you do in that situation? It's just a ridiculous situation.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And there's one way. So the way that one of the ways that they showed how small they were is they had them in this phone booth. Yes. And the woman was on the bottom and the man was standing on her shoulders and holding this gigantic phone receiver. And they built it all. And it looks really good. That was not the schlocky part for me. Yeah. It was the face changing stuff for me.
Oh, my mistake. I thought in the car when they're like trying to like hide his eyes and stuff, like they have these little like puppet hands they were using for some of the shots.
Well, so that's where I'm like laughing because it's just delightful. Yeah. It's so you use the word weird and it's just a really good weird.
It's a great weird. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Especially when like so Meg Ryan and Martin Short are driving the car and you know that the little people are in the back seat, but they don't know it yet. That was a really great moment. Yeah. There were so many times in this movie where they didn't reveal things to you. Yeah. And like you didn't know, I don't know, for the first 15 minutes what was going to happen with him getting shrunk down. And then there's something that happens at the end where Dennis Quaid gets moved into another body. And you're like,
you were so
how
upset
did that happen? I was. Yeah. It's like, I need to know what just happened. But you saw that it happened, but they didn't tell you at first. Yeah. And how do you think that helps the movie? I think it was a good choice, but why do you think that was a good choice to roll it out like that?
Just in general, when you're watching a movie and you don't know what's going to happen, you're way more engaged. You really want to figure it out. The puzzle, it's the puzzle part of humans. You know, you want to figure out the next thread or what's going to happen, and it really helps your enjoyment level because it helps you stay focused on it. So, yeah, it was great. Other things I liked. I didn't have a problem Okay, what about the face change part? Was it the whole like Total Recall? You could tell it was like a puppet, or not a puppet, but like, makeup effect.
I think it's just not pleasant to watch.
Oh well, it's not. Yeah,
Just like it wasn't pleasant in Total Recall.
true. I would contend it's not supposed to be, but thematically, it fit in Total Recall probably more, being uncomfortable than Innerspace. Okay.
I think
a fair
that was
point.
where a point where they were kind of pushing it too far for me. Like,
Well,
I've suspended my belief for all of this
Yeah.
and the little
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me that he can change his face and it's happening like that. So that was like a little bit, just felt like I was being nudged over a line.
I would agree. Of all the things, that one is really hard to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or inject through a buttocks. Yeah. Agree. So are there any parts that like particularly you didn't enjoy, or that kind of besides that one?
That was the one that really stood out to me, all the face stuff. The villains too were like, ooh, just close. If they had been too crazier, like they were really close to being too over the top.
This felt
It was
like
on the edge.
a B Bond movie when you had the villains involved.
Mhm.
It felt like a B Bond movie, like, because they had gadgets. They were like beautiful, but then they weren't quite that threatening. Whereas like in a Bond movie, you have those things, but they're like going to kill you unless you do something.
The best parts were with Dennis Quaid, Martin Short, and Meg Ryan. When the three of them were on screen, those were, I didn't want that to stop. That was great.
They were only on screen together in like one scene for real, but I know what you mean. The most surprising thing about this movie, I have one. Do you have one that surprised you?
Oh, you go.
Oh, we had watched Commando, in the last, I don't remember, 6 months.
Yes.
And Bennett, who is the character which we tried to dissect his outfit choices.
Right.
He's the bad guy in this movie, and I had no idea. So when I saw him, I was like, who's this guy? He looks like a mannequin. And he looks completely different than Bennett. He
Yes.
shaved the mustache, his hair is different.
Yeah.
And he had sunglasses on for the first half. So I was like, this guy looks familiar. And then when I saw the eyes, and I was like, Bennett! And it was just magical for me.
Okay, but he also had like a missing hand.
Yes.
Right?
And
And
then
then
a gadget hand.
He was like Gobber from How to Train Your Dragon. So he could like put other things into his wrist.
Yes.
That was like really close to over the top for me. Again, that was like an edge where I'm like, oh.
That's the James Bond factor of like, they're trying to show like super technology, and they're walking a James Bond line there for me. Yeah. The hand didn't bother me as much. The only part that bothered me about the hand is, I'm a continuity nerd. And there are scenes where he used his hand and you could see it moving, whereas it's supposed to be this static thing. But anyway.
What about Martin Short? So he's not like, I know he's not your favorite comedian.
I'm conflicted, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about him in this movie?
I thought he actually acted in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was, except for the goofy parts, he was great.
Yeah.
Like, as you know, or may not know, I am not like an Ed Grimley fan, which is he's got the like unicorn horn hair points and he does these weird dances. I never liked that even as a child. Like, I still don't understand why people enjoy it. I just don't get it. Like, my brain is not wired that way.
I'm with you on there. It's a weird brand of comedy that does not touch my funny bone at all.
No.
It's like a total.
Yeah. So when he dances into that, literally in one of the scenes, he's dancing his weird Ed Grimley kind of dance just by himself. They've survived, and so he's getting drunk in Tuck's house. So I'm like, okay, I guess we can't plan for things, but whatever. So when he danced into those moments, I was kind of like, pull it back, Martin, please. And then he would, and then it was fine. What about you? What was your impression of Martin Short? You had some pretty strong reactions, that if I recall correctly.
Yeah, well, so
I was threatened by one of them too.
Yes, I commented that.
Yes.
I had never thought of him. I'm sorry, Mr. Short. But I had never thought of him as like good looking before. And he was, that just came out how it came out. That's
He usually
just
is crazy and bizarre in most of the stuff you see him in. He looks like a caricature.
And we saw him once. We saw him in Steve Martin live, and they did their live show. And
we saw him naked in that show.
We saw him completely naked.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Except he was in a bodysuit, I hope. But anyway.
I don't know. We were far away.
We were far away, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, But in this movie, he was like less a caricature and more of a character.
Yeah.
And he was like composed and relaxed. And when he would smile, I would think, oh my gosh, he's actually a really good looking person. I had never really thought of him that way before.
Shocker of the movie for me. My wife thinks Martin Short is a good looking. I did not expect that going in, honestly.
Neither did I.
Although it kind of makes me want to cut my hair so I have the Prince Valiant cut that he had in this movie. Since
you
obviously
have to look past the haircut. It wasn't the haircut.
Oh, it wasn't the haircut? Okay.
No, it was just him not being so over the top.
Okay. Got it. Don't
so
be
he
over
was
the top.
way
Got
more
it.
tolerable.
Okay.
In this movie. Yeah.
Wow. How do you think this movie like resonated with audiences? Do you know?
I don't know. We had watched a little interview with him and Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
Like from the 80s or whatever. And they were talking about a sequel before the movie was even out, and there wasn't a sequel. So I'm guessing
someone
the reaction was like so.
Yeah, I think it was Diane, whoever it was, asked if there was gonna be a sequel.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, it depends if it makes money. He gave such a practical answer.
It depends on how many people see the film.
Exactly.
You're right.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the budget was $27 million and it only made 25.
Jello's not expensive.
It's
What
not.
costs that? I'm just joking. Okay, so didn't do well.
Yeah. Which they won an Oscar though. So hey.
Yeah.
I don't know why the early 80s were crazy for movies. There was so much competition. If you look at movies that were released like in 1979 and then you just keep going year by year, it just feels like it's growing exponentially with the number of films that were released. So I think there was lots of fierce competition going on, and sometimes things just don't hit.
Yeah, that's true.
This movie was great. I loved it.
Me too.
Two things that stood out to me that were crazy was Kevin McCarthy was a great casting choice. He was the big bad guy, the older guy. He's from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1960s classic horror film you've never seen. Okay. Anyway, he's in that. I loved seeing him. And he's just a good actor. And then there was that guy, the lead scientist, Dr. Niles.
Yeah.
Not the one who ran, the other one, the government one.
Okay.
And he had glasses. I'm like, who is that guy? It's Mark Taylor. And he has also been in, he's also been in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Arachnophobia, and Homeward Bound. So like all these movies I saw as a kid, like his face is just in my mind because he's that guy with the glasses. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so he did it again.
We should talk about Dennis Quaid a little bit.
Sure.
He was in like a small capsule.
He was.
For most of the movie, like this tiny like capsule.
Yeah.
How do you think they made like his character so compelling in such a small space?
Well, I mean, they did that thing. They gave him a catchphrase, right? They gave him a catchphrase.
What was his catchphrase?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. It was like basically like Tuck, it's the Tuck factor or Tuck amping up or something like that. He said it to himself once when he was about to give a speech. And then he said the phrase to Martin Short too, when he was trying to get him like ready to do something.
Okay.
Anyway, they did touches like that. And they also just gave him like this bombastic, conflicted character. Like he's very over the top, but then he's like crazy on the outside, but a soft shell on the inside.
Right.
So I think that kind of helped. It also, the duality of his character, I think helped a lot with the setting because he was literally a character inside of a character,
Ooh, layers.
Yeah, layers. So he's got the big, like crazy machismo alcoholic exterior, but then he's really like, just trying to fight through that, and he's a sweet guy underneath. So yeah,
they also did like technically they did a lot of close-ups, and they like kind of like he got more like sweaty and unkempt, as the time goes on.
He
the
was
longer
shedding
he's in
layers.
there.
Yeah, yeah. I also, what was I gonna say? The way they did the scenes with Martin Short too, like he was on set. But he was just off camera and he was like communicating with Martin Short through like an earpiece, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
To get like the realism of their situation. Like Meg Ryan couldn't hear what he was saying and stuff like that. I thought that was really neat.
Do you know what that reminds me of? And it's something that we don't experience anymore.
What?
But the intimacy of talking to someone on the telephone.
Oh.
And you're holding a receiver and
Okay.
you've got them in your ear.
Okay.
And then you're talking into the mouthpiece. And it's like this really... Do you remember that?
I mean, I talk to people on my AirPods, like in earbuds. It's not the same feeling?
Okay, that's probably close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just, the intimacy of having someone talking only to you in your ear.
Yeah.
So I think that was cool they did it that way on set.
Instead of
because it
seeing their
captured
face.
that
Yeah.
feeling.
That is cool, yeah. What, if any, messages do you think were in this film?
That's a hard one.
It's what's inside that counts is mine. I'm done.
Okay. Man, you stole a good one.
Sorry.
I'm just thinking it's interesting how things were resolved but not resolved. But
Meaning?
resolution, okay, so for Dennis Quaid, like, did he stop becoming an alcoholic? He got Meg Ryan in the end. They got married.
They just got married, yeah.
Well, and also there was a big reveal when... So, okay.
I love how you're afraid to give spoilers, even though we've talked about the entire plot of the movie.
Well, at one point, Dennis Quaid gets put into Meg Ryan's body.
Yes.
Because Martin Short and Meg kiss.
Yes.
And while he's in her body, he's like, wait, where am I? And he finds a baby.
Yeah.
He sees a baby. He's like,
that was cool.
I'm a dad.
Yeah.
And then they kiss again and he gets put back into Martin Short's body.
How close is your uterus to your mouth? Like, how is it getting... Anyway.
There's like arterial highways.
I guess. Arterial highways. There you go.
So anyway, resolutions. I don't know.
For the record, I know how close the mouth is to the uterus too. I don't want anyone to think I don't. I've taken anatomy.
Okay.
Keep going.
Good for you. Anyway, I don't know how much like was resolved for his character.
Yeah.
But for Martin Short, it was definitely like get over your fear and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. And he in the end, he was like, I'm not going back to the doctor. I'm not going back to that job where they treated me like crappy.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go out with this girl who oddly has a crush on him, but also treated him really badly.
Horribly, yeah.
And so he finally stood up for himself and like had a confidence. So that was awesome.
Believe in yourself?
Sure.
Okay.
Get over,
right.
Work through the fear, anxiety. Don't let it hold you back.
Nice.
I guess.
Nice.
There was like some sequel talk in that talk show we were watching. What would you want to see in a sequel? Which I'm bummed they didn't make one.
Yeah,
honest.
like, I don't know, something where they have to have someone different do the shrinking. That's like typical sequel formula, you know? But that's probably what I would expect. Like maybe Martin Short has to be shrunk down in order to save Dennis or something, and he goes into Dennis.
Or they could do Honey, I Blew Up the Baby and go the other way.
They could. That'd be cool. But it would be more stealing of the technology, probably. Like someone would take the technology and they would spin the technology in a way like you just said.
I was thinking of what if they were injected into something totally different?
Yeah. What would you want to be injected into?
Oh, what would I want to be injected into?
Yeah.
Maybe you. So I could like finally, I could go through and see what was wrong and help you fix anything.
What's wrong with me? Wow.
Health-wise.
Okay. I am pulling the plug on this one. Innerspace was great. And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Tell us what you think of this film in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.